got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with. Now they looking nervously, and I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet next to me. I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
I shot my wife in the stomach with 38.
Why did you do this?
She enticed me and she ridiculed me throughout my lifetime. I'll see if she's alive. She's alive? She's dead. I think she's dead.
Sensational.
So let's get into this. Where have we gone wrong? Where have we gone wrong as men in understanding what is going on in society? We've used our own philosophies, our own understanding, our own framing, our own definitions to decipher the changes and to decide what changes should happen over the past 5 decades of my life. Those in the manosphere like to explain it and show the impacts and the systems, but they're not often getting to the nub of the issue. It's led to lots of complaints. It's led to splits in society, men on men, red pill on red pill, men on women, women on men, anything you can think of. We're just split straight down the middle. It's politics is completely split. Countries are completely split. But specifically from the manosphere itself, the main impact that's covered, I'm going to take this off. The main impact that's covered by the manosphere is in the realm of dating, on family, on relationships, on divorce, marriage, bringing up children with role models from both sexes. And what I'm arguing is we haven't actually defined the problem. And that's on us. That's our personal responsibility to bear. We need to take accountability for that. We have not defined the problem. If you don't define it accurately, and if you focus on believing the outcomes or symptoms alone are the problem in and of themselves, then we don't know what the bloody actual issue is that's causing it, and we're trying to solve the wrong thing. That can only lead to bad solutions that won't work, ever. You might be able to, for a small period of time, overcome X or Y. You might be able to persuade somebody something, but then they'll fall back. The issue, as I see it, is that the feminist movement has actually used our own words against us. So men have agreed with feminism on the basis of equality in terms of rights, laws, opportunities, freedoms, things like that, because we define the words they utter in our terms. And yet their goal is vastly different. They've redefined our own words without telling us. They use a frame and a philosophy and an ideology and their nature. It's what comes natural to them, their nature, in a way that we do not understand. And yet, because they use words we're very familiar with, and it's framed as progress, equality, advancement, we've blindly gone along with it. Not just blindly gone along with it, we've promoted it, we've pushed it forward within our laws and within how we have chosen to take things forward to make things more equal. But in our definition of what is equal, it's a Machiavellian manipulation. Women might not even know that themselves because they use the same words completely differently. I'm going to break it down. First of all, what is a man? Sounds a bit like a Matt Walsh documentary. And you can't define man by using the word man. I'm not going to. What is a man? I'm going to list off various characteristics, traits, bits of nature. Objectivity, reality, truth, science, rationality. What is? Competition, merit, skills, expertise, personal responsibility and accountability. Freedom of belief, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, all the freedoms really, really central to democracy. Democracy is something we completely believe in. Equality of opportunity, strength, principles, and a way to see the world, such as biology, physics, logic. There's binary aspects that are innate and can't be broken. Capitalism, hierarchy, networking, constant self-improvement, hands-on problem solving, respect for self and others. You become skilled, you get rewarded for being skilled. You understand reality, you react to reality and act accordingly to get your best result. And if you're seen as the best, you get status. You get extra responsibility. You're rewarded for that. You're rewarded for your skills and your expertise, and you move up the hierarchy. Separately, as a father, you teach your child to understand the dangers of the world, to gain understanding and see possible danger in advance, to understand risk, to take calculated risks, and to fail. You get hurt, you learn lessons from it. And as a father, you pass on skills and expertise to your offspring. And as a man, you produce, you protect, you provide, you solve problems. And sometimes you fail and you hit the bottom and it takes time to get back up. You take full personal responsibility for that failure and you learn from it. And as I said, the best people move up the hierarchy, the ones who know how to think about the implications of their actions, those who take calculated risks that come off, those who fail and then stand back up and go at it again and improve. And the best of the best people become leaders due to their wisdom, their understanding of how the world works, maybe only in their little sphere, yeah. And the people follow those leaders because the people know how good those leaders are. They trust the leader has taken account of the risks, they've made the calculations, they've got a strategy, they've got tactics, they've built a good, skilled team around them. And with all of this brought together, there's a better chance that all will move forward and society will improve. And those who choose not to be a man in this manner will not do well. It's the way the world is. Shark-infested waters are everywhere. You've got to be able to navigate all of them. And men teach their children to navigate those waters. Education. What's education for? It's for teaching people how to think, not what to think. All of these things make a man. Only the smallest proportion of men have all these skills. I'm certainly not one of them, but I have a small subset of them, shall we say. And mine are enough. They're enough for me because I rely on other people with different skills in order that a team comes together and delivers as one with a shared goal. Men want opportunity, choice, and the ability to show their worth. But there's a big but there. Society now wants to prevent that. Question is why? Why? Because every bit of what makes a man and how men do things, whatever man, whether they're a 2-year-old or a 60-year-old, everything to do with men is traditional, gender construct, it's patriarchy, it's not progress, it's bad, and it must be dismantled. So this comes to what is a woman? Without using the word woman in defining what a woman is. So I'll list a bunch of characteristics and traits there. It's about ideology, it's about what should be an ideal, a utopia of what society should be rather than how it is. It's an egalitarianism. I was going to say a level of egalitarianism, but it's not. It's a complete egalitarianism with everyone being validated completely. Look at body positivity, look at sex work. Everyone's a 10 out of 10. Every woman's a 10 out of 10. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter anything. They're all 10s out of 10s. And it doesn't make sense to men, but it makes sense to women. Everyone is based on their previously perceived minority traits. And everything to do with those minority traits must be pushed to the top. Superiority for women and minorities. Diversity and inclusion is more important than merit and skills. Socialism as opposed to capitalism, or in reality, more Marxism and communism than socialism, but not capitalism. Science and education promote safety for all, as opposed to implying reality of traits and biology that might impact certain people because of their evolutionary makeup that made them the way that they are. They reject all of that. We're all equal. We're all egalitarian. Everybody's exactly the same. Media and education establishments, they have to hide the reality of what's actually going on. They've got to remove the truth if it does not meet their ideology. Equity, not equality, where outcomes for the underskilled must be the same as for the most skilled. This concept of equal pay for equal work, just because you've got the same job title does not mean you're delivering the same work. Leadership positions, they're provided based on characteristics, not skills, not merit. You have freedoms. You're told you've got freedoms, but only if you think and act like the group. Complete groupthink. Ignore problems. Introduce cancel culture. Their principles are not held as standards. They are held as fluidity. Things like believe all women. Under motherhood, taught by mothers, is the concept that all are equal and all receive the same. That's actually quite important in childhood. It's quite important that one child is not favored over the other. It does not mean they're the same. But in women's eyes, they're equal. Women provide nurturing and they dislike disagreement within a motherhood role. And that has led into other roles where there are changes in the workplace around nobody being allowed to have a disagreement. They want everyone to be happy all the time. So here's the rub. Women and those men who have very few of the male traits and skills that I mentioned before, and without those, wouldn't generally have an ability to advance based on merit and expertise, need to remove all that makes up a man from society because it's not wanted. And that's exactly what's happened. Women and men who can't compete using a masculine frame have taken over corporate and retail society, office jobs, the legal industry, mainstream media, social media, education for both children and post-school, so colleges, universities. Those same people run higher levels of academia, science and research in government and in public sector bodies. And if you've got a majority position who are all aiming for a particular ideology, that majority position, which is absolutely counter in every way to all the natural traits of men and how men perceive success, that majority position is able to force its ideology onto that organization and consequently, eventually, onto the whole of society, which is exactly where we are. It's seen as superior to be nice, to be promoting safety, and it eradicates the very nature of men in the process. And they've done it by using their traditional female skills of doublespeak. They've used their own tools, their own words, their own innate sense of justice and fairness against men, the patriarchy. So the question that comes from this is, what do men do about it, if anything? Unfortunately, it's all arisen behind that Machiavellian, possibly a narcissistic veneer of using the same words that men use and men accord with: education, freedom, science, equality, justice, fairness, truth, legality, opportunity. I don't have any answers yet, but I'm going to come up with some more videos soon. I've been watching quite a lot of stuff that's sort of pulling it together from various months ago and various recent stuff from trigonometry, Chris Williamson. I'll look into others yet. But as I say, I don't have any answers yet. I'm defining and refining what is the actual problem. And I'm not blaming women either. They're doing what comes naturally to them. And what comes naturally to them is that men and the traits of men, the characteristics of men, need to be eradicated. Masculinity needs to be eradicated. Every aspect of masculinity is toxic because it's patriarchy. And if we understand that, then we understand what we're up against. Their sense of women being men and there being no difference between the sexes, that gender's a social construct, all comes from this ideological and natural frame of mind. Egalitarianism, no recognition of merit would ever push anyone higher than anyone else. Only those who say and show and promote happiness and equity and their sense of fairness can ever thrive in the society they've got. Now, there's a lot more to this, and I've used quite a bit of hyperbole, and I'm really not blaming women. I'm actually blaming men for not having seen that we've been duped. We have to take personal responsibility, complete accountability for this. The question is, can anything be done about it? I don't know. I don't know that there is. So, I mean, there is no way of taking freedoms away from those that women have, because freedoms are freedoms for all humans. You choose what it is that you are heading for, what it is that you want. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of belief. All of that is of the ultimate importance to men. So we can't actually take any of that away. But society and how it is built is a different beast, so to speak. So I'm saying, let's start this conversation. Let's work out our role, our way forward, our being for men and for society, and whether some changes can come together on the basis of accepting both sides of this coin. Because I don't think we can only accept what used to happen and what is now happening, because it does not work. We need to return to some form of equal status where everyone has rights and freedoms without discrimination or bigotry. So we need to achieve what women want and what men want, which means compromise. You can't just have one or the other having control. And all of those discussions that are within the manosphere around dating and around the future for sex and for relationships and people and the family and things like that, it's like, yeah, okay. We can go forward with all of those things. The question is the compromise, that actually nobody gets everything that they want, but there is everything for somebody, or there's something for everyone. Rojo's just asked if I'm opening up for discussion. Why not? Why not? Let's see how I can do this. I shall. So that is the end of my comments. The room is open. I think I can have up to 5 other people come in. If anybody wants to discuss any of this. And in the meantime, we'll play this.
Got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with, now they looking nervously. And I don't really care what you think of me, respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet next to me. I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
I shot my wife in the stomach with 38.
Why did you do this?
she enticed me and she ridiculed me throughout my lifetime. I'll see if she's alive. You alive? Yeah. I think she's dead.
Sensational.
So here's Brodro.
What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. I only got to hear about half of what you said, but I was hoping to come in with Gio because I'm hanging out. Was hanging out with Gio and Doubting Thomas. Just finished watching the game. We did a little live before, and then so you were on restreaming it. I don't know. Gio was taking issue with some things you were saying, so I was hoping to get him in here and address you directly.
Okay. I mean, it's a conversation. It's it to me it's quite important, but I'm looking at where it's come from.
Some to blame women's rights, feminism, extreme feminism.
Well, it's rather than blame. I said at the end very, very clearly that I'm not blaming women.
Oh,
I see this. This is how they are. Men have a nature and women have a nature.
mm-hmm.
And where we're at is they've used the same words, but they define them differently. And by using those same words, equality, democracy, opportunity for all, those words are defined completely differently by women. That's not their fault. I'm not blaming them. I don't know whether that was on purpose, that they used double speak, so to speak.
You think
exactly as Nerdy says, it's like blaming a lioness for hunting prey. You can't do it. What I am saying is that it's not working.
But what has changed? Isn't that the question you said? What has changed?
Say that again.
What has
No, the
changed?
question was, what is a man?
Yeah.
Originally. But what has changed to get to where we are now? Wasn't that the question?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, but there are lots of
There
changes
seems
that have
one
happened.
thing.
Over the last 50 years, a lot of changes have happened that have made things vastly different. And they are...
That's what I was alluding to about what women's equals rights. Not saying that women shouldn't have rights.
No, exactly. Exactly. Women have rights and freedoms. And they define those things differently to what we understand them. I'm putting all of the accountability and the personal responsibility on men. All of it. Because all of it, yes. Because we didn't ask the questions. We didn't see the implications. We allowed this to happen. We actually promoted these things to happen because we framed it within our own way of defining what the problem actually is.
So we shouldn't have given them the right to vote.
No, bullshit. No. No, I don't know why you're trying to straw man me. I don't know why you're trying to straw man me. That's not it. The conversations were not had at the beginning. The understanding of it was not had at the beginning, and it's not happening at the moment. What people are doing is they're using dating, and they're using the dating apps, and they're using sex, and they're using the change in the family and reduced marriages and increased divorces. And they're saying this is the problem and we need to solve this. No, it's not, because that is exactly what the outcome is on the frame of what women said they were going to do, but only on the basis of if you understand how women defined the words that they actually used. Their concepts of truth are not about we need to know the truth. Their concepts of truth is about We need to know what's good for people. We don't want to know all the other stuff because that won't help. That's not maintaining safety. And I've got some videos of that I will show on some other stream. That's going to be my next stream. But I was just getting my aspects out, the differences. Men believe in principles. When we say equality, we say everybody has a chance. When they say equality, they say egalitarianism, equity. Everybody can get to the top. But for men, you only get to the top if you're the best. For women, you get to the top on the basis of equity.
Basis of what?
Equity. Diversity and inclusion. The people at the top must be. People at the top must represent all parts of society instead of the best people being at the top. If the best people were at the top,
So it's unrealistic, and that's delusional.
no, it's not delusional from their point of view.
It's
No,
unrealistic. It's totally unrealistic.
but it's not unrealistic. It's completely realistic from their point of view. It's totally realistic.
It's wrong, though.
From a man's point of view, it's wrong. Yes.
So you think they're right?
From their point of view, they are right.
So what's the answer?
That's the point. The answer is compromise, because these things do not work. What's happened is because women have become the majority in educational establishments, in the media, on social media, in terms of control, in corporate society, in the legal world, in politics, in influencing, in lobbying, because they have become the majority, and because men all bloody argue with each other, all the women are together. They are moving in one direction. Therefore, one decision, bang. Some woman said that. Believe all women. I believe that. They have said ideologically this will work and it will be better for society. There's no evidence for it, because you can't have evidence for something in the future. They will not take into account stuff that might hinder their desires because it's ideologically based, and you can't argue against it. So if they've got the majority, and we live in a democracy, they've got control of these things, the majority wins.
So then no compromise is possible.
But all I'm saying is that's what's happening. Compromise is always possible, but you can't solve something if you can't define the problem in the first place. I am merely trying to get to defining the problem. And this is how I see it. They have used our own words against us, and we have let them come in and deliver what they wanted without us realizing what impact it would have. And the impact is huge. The impact is going to be a major problem for society. We have got birth rates falling to the lowest rates in any of our lives. And this is where we're at. Nerdy says it's got nothing to do with technology and failing government investments in social infrastructure. Of course it has. I mean, those are aspects of elements within the wider construct of how everything is decided.
Already Trump and Biden were voted in. Remember that?
Yeah, apparently.
So it's not about having the best people at the top. It's about who's getting voted in.
Exactly. Ideology.
Yeah.
Ideology.
It's not about
You're bringing you're bringing forward ideologies. DT.
Well, I like what I see you're trying to do here, in my opinion, is, and I like it, let's put down the clubs and have a discussion. and try and figure out exactly what happened instead of digging our heels in as MGTOW or digging our heels in as feminists.
Absolutely. I mean,
right?
that's the key. That is the key.
Yeah. And the big, we're not going to get anywhere until we can do that. And the biggest, as far as things that changed that Brojo was talking about, like what changed, the biggest change I think I've seen in my life is the amount of kids that are divorced, come from divorces.
Yeah. And the impact that that has on them, and whether they were brought up with or without a father figure, or a mother figure.
And I think it's like a geometric progression. It wasn't that big of a deal in the 80s when people started getting divorced and shit. And then, you know, you try and kind of stay in the kids' lives as much as you can. But the more and more and more and more of that happens, it's like fucking blown apart. And then I've seen it in my own family. You know, an aunt or a niece or a sister will have they'll be married 3 times over their life. And then what I'm seeing now is a lot of those same women that have been married 3 times over their life, their daughters are married 3 times. Right? Yeah. It's like whatever the mother is doing, and I'm not saying the mother is wrong, but whatever choices are being made there, it's almost like they're passing down the genes to make those choices on both sides. Like, fuck it. Okay, now we have a kid. Now we have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, a son and a daughter, and we don't like each other anymore. So fuck it. It'll be easy. It's just easy now to fuck off and walk away from a marriage. And, you know, the men know they're going to have to pay child support. And the women know that, you know, they're going to have a tough time finding another husband with 2 kids or what. I don't know. Go ahead.
Say what you want, but like you're saying, back in the 80s, if someone was getting divorced, it was a big stigma. You know, it was like, you know, you kept that as a secret. You kept that as a secret as much as possible. And then if the mom got like remarried, then that was like, she didn't look too good. The mother didn't look good getting remarried. So, but that's changed over time for sure. And now you have more acceptance of it, of course, and with social media, as well as a big impact on relationships.
It sounds like you're agreeing with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, back in the very early 1980s, 1980, 1981, that was when all, and I mean all, 100% of my friends, their parents divorced. Prior to that, I mean, we'd be going around the houses, everybody'd be happy, and everyone was thinking everything's perfectly all right. No. And then my parents did. It's like, I'm at the age of 14, 15 going, yeah, this marriage stuff doesn't work. But that's a symptom. Nerdy, right. I've never been divorced either, Nerdy, because I've never been married. It's a symptom of all of these changes that are going on. I understand why we had to have these changes. I understand why this divorce stuff had to come in. I mean, it was promoted by. Here's my conspiracy theory. It was promoted by governments as well. Governments required women to be working. If women were going to be working, that would suppress growth in wages for men. It would
increase tax income.
it would increase tax income, it would bring more in and have a lower cost society at an individual basis, because women can come in and do the work for cheaper, or suppress salaries. So salaries would be suppressed for however long they would be suppressed for. And the latest information is that men's salaries have stagnated since 1970, and women's salaries have gone like that. Rightly so, because they're now up with men. And in fact, more than 50% of women who are in a relationship are the breadwinner in their relationships in America, apparently. So everything has been pushed forward, possibly with unknown consequences. And these are the unknown consequences, as far as I can tell. Some of the unknown consequences. But you have to get back to the cause, not the symptom or the consequence. Because unless you get back to the cause, then you can never resolve it. And
cause, are we saying the cause of?
The cause of all of the changes that have brought in all of these things, and all the legal changes, and all the changes in organizations and in politics and in social media, with cancel culture, all the ideas that groupthink and ideology is the way to go forward, as opposed to individual freedom of belief and freedom of expression, allows you to go forward, but still to accept somebody that you don't disagree with, that you don't agree with. You accept them as a person because it doesn't matter what they believe. Whereas in this society that we're currently in, you're not allowed to be friends with somebody that you don't agree with.
Right. They have as much right to their beliefs as I do to mine.
Yes.
Can I say something? You reminded me of something, Heretic, when you were talking about your parents got divorced at 14 and 15, or when you were 14 or 15. I have a couple stepdaughters in the States from my first marriage. Their mother passed away. But my oldest stepdaughter has been dating this guy for like 10 years. And this isn't a cause of the problem. This is an after effect of the problem. So
10 years.
Yes, just listen. The guy that she's dating, his parents got divorced when he was quite young. Or I don't know how young he was, but he does not want to get married because of that. Because of what he saw his parents go through, he does not want to get married. Okay?
Exactly like
and
me.
My daughter,
I took that decision. I took that decision at the age of 14 or 15.
Right.
Yep.
Sure.
Right. Let me finish. So now, after they were dating for like 3 or 4 years, all of a sudden, and all of a sudden people are asking my daughter, like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy? How come he hasn't asked you to marry him yet? And my daughter's getting all kinds of fucking flack from her circle of friends. And me as her stepfather, I'm thinking in my own head at first, yeah, what the fuck is his problem? Why isn't he a good dude or a good man and put a ring on my daughter's finger? And then I've come to the conclusion that if my daughter loves him, it doesn't fucking matter. If my daughter is willing to stay with him and not get married because of the stigma that was caused in his life, the only thing that it does for me or her circle of friends or our family to wonder what the fuck is wrong with her boyfriend, it just brings her down even more.
Actually, you're bringing him down.
Well, you're bringing both of them down, when
Well-
they're happy together.
You're actually judging him.
That's right. The expectation to be tied down
Yes, absolutely. You're right, Heretic.
as a norm,
Absolutely.
kind of norm.
Yeah, and it's
Because he's not doing what's expected of him by society or
cultural
whatever.
norms,
Yeah,
Cool.
ideology.
societal constructs, ideology. Something I've always gone against.
But which had its place, though. You can make a case that religion actually was good for marriage and family.
Of course, it was good for marriage and family.
Yeah.
Of course, it was. But it was also
I'm
really
from a-
shit, really shit for those women for whom they were stuck in a marriage and couldn't get away from it.
My mom raised a family. My mom gave birth to 15 kids because of religion. And I think my mom had a pretty decent life, but my mom put up with a bunch of shit. And she was very stoic. But all of that was religion. I mean, she did put 15 more consumers on the planet.
You see, I am completely pro freedom and I'm completely pro rights. I'm completely pro any independent person making their own independent decision. I am completely against people putting pressure on somebody to make a lifelong decision that you should be married, you should be proposing to that girl, you should be this, you should be that. Morality
When are you gonna
should,
have?
ought to,
Yeah.
no. I'm completely for freedom. I'm completely for women to have the freedom to make their decisions as they see fit. They can hate men all they fucking like. They can hate what they perceive as the patriarchy. The problem is what they see as the patriarchy is actually just masculine traits. And they argue those are social constructs. Well, I'll argue back. What you're telling me is a fucking social construct. You're telling me your social construct, your ideology, because you weren't born with that, you were taught that. Whereas men will naturally work on the basis of reality, objectivity, truth, science, logic. That's what men do. Now, the rest of it, a lot of other bits, maybe we're taught about freedom of belief and freedom of speech, freedom of expression. I don't know. If I was brought up in a country where none of those things were allowed and freedom was defined completely differently and I didn't know any better, maybe I wouldn't even know these words. I don't know. But I see this as there needs to be some kind of compromise somewhere because this is not working. It's not working for men at all. Because there's just blame being thrown around everywhere for stuff that's nothing to do with anything. Look at children nowadays, boys in primary schools being blamed for being boys, for being born male. And then you start thinking, well, maybe that's why they're trying to get them not to be male. Maybe they're trying to teach them to be something else. By not having male role models in the house or around, not having male role models around children throughout education, throughout university education, throughout their home life, the nurturing for boys is completely feminine.
Sure.
There is nothing masculine for them nowadays. And they're being bloody taught that being male is bad. There's something
I
wrong.
gotta run to the bathroom, but I'll say this: I think it's going to be that whole cycle. You know, weak men, strong men cycle. It's the same thing. I think in society. I think only when we have a really hard time, probably a war, that things will maybe change.
Hopefully, if we have a war,
Where men will rise up.
50% of the people going to war will have to be women.
Men will rise up, and women will need to be dependent on
Yeah.
men again.
Being dependent on is not the way to do it. That's not freedom.
Independent.
That's not freedom.
But isn't for the relationship to work, there has to be, it's an interdependent relationship.
Interdependent, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Equality.
But we don't even have that now. We don't even have that.
No, we don't.
Right.
We have it from a female perspective and a female
So women don't care about men. Women ain't going to care about men more until they need something from men.
And
they can't do
that. They see that as equality.
Yeah. Well, they
usually happens at hard times.
They see that as equality. We define equality differently to women. This is the problem.
Exactly.
This is the point. This is the point.
Exactly.
And when we can't come together and actually acknowledge the differences there, we will never get to define the fucking problem. And until we've defined the problem, we cannot come up with solutions.
It's like as I see it, women don't understand. But oh God, this is so hard. Women don't understand that.
Men.
Yes, and the responsibility that we feel to society and what it takes to, if you're a construction worker, what it takes to put on your boots and go to a job every day, and you have the mortgage hanging over your head, you got to pay the electric bills, you got to support your kids, you got to support your wife, you got to feed everybody. But on the other hand, men don't understand all the shit that women go through, having to be the mother of a family, and they go through the, what happens if my husband gets laid off? What's going to happen to my kids? And it's like you're saying, Heretic, we don't understand each other.
Exactly.
And you can say that's obvious. I mean, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. But until we can address that, I don't know, like who knows, on a governmental level, have this conversation. I mean,
I think it has to be at a governmental level for the legal basis to become equal. The legality stuff has to be equal. If you can falsely accuse somebody of something, completely falsely accuse somebody, and it be shown that what you've said is completely false, completely made up, then the person you accused, who obviously is given a not guilty sentence, and if they aren't, there's a fucking problem. But until that falsely accused person can then openly and legally sue the person that falsely accused them, I don't think we're going to have any equality here. It must start in the legal basis. And that's where a man's principles come in. We have these principles where it's like black and white. That's okay. That's not okay. This little bit, someone's got to make decisions somewhere because there'll be a load of context around it.
Right. It's, there has to be, you just triggered a couple things in me. There has to be somewhere responsibility or accountability. And I was just thinking about, I'm a plumber by trade. And if I go in and plumb a hospital or a school or whatever, and I make some sort of egregious error of how, like I get the superheated water crossed with the hot water somehow, and then the school opens up, and 3 months later, and this has all been inspected by a government inspector, right? He's been through there and says everything's up to code. It's okay to open the school now. So 3 months later, a little kid comes in and gets scalded because I fucked up and the inspector didn't catch it. There's no going back on that inspector. It comes back on me. And the same thing happens with our legal system. I don't know what it is in the UK, but here the cops have what is called qualified immunity. So unless a cop, they can violate your rights all the time, but unless they do something really, really heinous to you, you can't sue them because they have qualified immunity as a police officer. And that's one thing that that's one thing that they're kind of trying to get rid of right now for the very reason Heretic just said. Because when you have the police arresting people and they can enforce whatever the fuck they want on those people without repercussion, that's a problem. When you can't go after a cop, if you sue because of false arrest, you're not suing that cop. You're suing the city that cop works for. And the deal is they're trying to abolish qualified immunity, so then you can go after the cop himself. So that way, the cops would be held much more accountable.
Judges also have that.
Yeah.
I'm opposed to that qualified immunity. Like, I mean, I can understand, like, but congressmen get it. All kinds of people get that fucking shit.
Right. And they can lose it. I mean, that's why it's called qualified.
I mean,
but it's pretty hard.
I'm not sure that I'm opposed to it in principle, but I mean, you got to put yourself in the position of the policeman doing this job. I mean, he's hired to do a job. So what is his job, you know? And what tools has he been given to do it? What training? What are the societal rules? You know, what's the judge going to say? You know, this and that. So, you know, and like, if I'm a cop, I don't want to be sued every time I kill a criminal, you know, that pulled a gun on me. Right?
Then you better be justified in what you're doing, and then go to court and have your day in court. But don't just have blanket fucking protection.
But when you go to court, but what good is going to court if you're you know, the guy who everyone saw his knee on George Floyd's neck, you know, for however many minutes, 9 minutes and something.
But I mean, these things.
You think that guy got a fair trial?
Hang on, guys. Hang on. These things are not necessarily something that has just arisen in the past 50 years and is a change. I mean, these things wouldn't.
Well, this is what I want to get to.
Yeah,
because it seems like you're arguing about a different phenomenon. Well, I was going to ask DT, what was your comments? You said men don't understand women, women don't understand men, and it seemed to be based on the current fucking idiocy going on. But maybe was it something else you're referring to?
Well, this is what we've been talking about, and why I started up this stream, because what we've got is a movement that has essentially taken hold across society on the basis of saying, we want equality, we want our voting rights, we want our freedoms, we want this. And all of those things are really important. They're human rights. Everybody should be equal in that way. Everybody should have the same rights. Everybody should have the same independence. Everybody should have the ability to make their own choices. The problem is, what I'm arguing is that they have used words that we as men understand in a very certain and specific way. Somebody says equality, we go, bang, yes. Freedoms, yes. They don't mean it in that way. They don't mean the same thing. That's the point. And they have taken over society, and they've become the majority so that they can actually vote in their version of what they mean by it. And it's having major problems. But so the answer is
the problem is their system's not based on truth.
Hang on, Ironic. No, it's based on what they define truth as. That's the point. Our definition of truth is like a scientific truth. What is reality? What is this? That's not what they're looking for. They don't define it in this way. And that isn't wrong. It's just different. It's just different. And so therefore, no, it's not. That's the point.
It is wrong.
It's wrong in my point of view. It's wrong in your point of view. But it's not wrong in
it's evil because it leads to death and destruction. If you can't recognize that, you're stupid then.
Ironic, please calm down. That's not what I'm saying. I agree it leads to death and destruction. I agree it will lead to mass problems for our society. But we can only say that on the basis of defining it in our way. We have to somehow let them know, yes, we can, but they're looking forward to the future. This is the point. This is a totally different paradigm. They're looking to the future and they're going, if we achieve this and we'll do it this way through their ideology, then the world will be a better place for everybody. Now, we as men know that that's not true. It's not going to happen.
Seriously, though.
But they've got control.
You can't take people seriously that are actively destroying anything about their own future, let alone their brothers or sisters, with abortion, whatever. You know, they're not looking to the future. That's the problem.
They don't see it that way. They don't see it that way. They do not see it that way.
It doesn't matter. Those who can see, it's up to them. Like the adults in the room, that's what the problem is here. You can't let the children run the fucking insane asylum.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
Actually, if those children have the majority vote, and the way that we do things is through that majority lens, which might be social media, it might be cancel culture, it might be the mainstream media, it might be the political system, it might be all that. If they've got through democracy that vote, then they do get to do that. And that's where the problem is, Ironic. We're not getting our point across because we might end up shouting at each other and calling each other names. We might be using shaming language and telling people that they're stupid or they're children or whatever. That is never, ever going to work. You will only have the opposition digging their heels in. That's all they will do. They will not listen to you. And therefore, that way of doing it can't work. And that's exactly where we're at. Everybody is just against each other. Bang, 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 bang. That is it. That's where we're at. And it's not the right way. And the reason it's like that is because we don't understand where each other is coming from, because we use the same words to mean different things.
That's not why.
It is.
No, You just
That's
fail to
what I'm
recognize
arguing.
every time we have this damn conversation, you fail to recognize it all boils down back to the 50s, late 50s, early 60s, where all this bullshit, got all cut loose and society changed. And you can't take all the rules off of society and think it's not going to change, especially when you got evil forces in education, media, over the long term. This is by design. They've destroyed our children, and now we're faced with this population as you described.
DT, I cut you off earlier.
So yeah,
and I apologize.
we're in it up to our fucking ass.
Hang on, Irene. DT, I cut you off. I apologize.
Actually, you only cut me off after I interrupted you. So what's your solution, Irenic? Because hold on, because right now, but basically what I'm seeing is you're exemplifying behavior that we were just talking about before you came on. If you're so entrenched in rant and rave, that's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. What's your solution?
I just remember Harry asking or making the point that until we can identify what the problem is, it doesn't do any good to talk about solutions, does it?
Well, I put out what I think is the problem. It needs refining. It needs bringing together with other bits, but we've got to define what the problem is accurately. At the moment, I don't have a solution. All that I know is we are at complete opposite ends of a spectrum, and there is no solution with that. There are only the winner is able to impose what it is that they want to impose. And what we actually need is compromise. We have to understand exactly where everyone's coming from. We have to see the benefits and the pitfalls of each. We've got to stop this bullshit about the patriarchy. Everything's the patriarchy. Reparations, everything from the past. That's not going to help.
Sometimes you can't compromise. There are things on which you cannot compromise. And these are things that these people are not willing to compromise on. As such, in what is the truth about something?
No, there are things that we can compromise on.
What is a man like?
Hold on. What are you willing to compromise?
We shouldn't compromise on. There are two sexes, man and a woman. Okay, and we can talk about the anomalies that are rare or some shit like that. But when you start getting away from those fundamental truths about, I'm talking about gender fucking bullshit. That's one we shouldn't compromise about.
What are you willing to compromise on, Irenic?
There are things, whatever, things that are permitted, all those things that are permissible in society, people don't have the right to do them. So we got to talk about what's permissible, and that's where the problem comes in.
What are you willing to compromise on?
Anything that's permissible.
Is it permissible that somebody has the right to choose to present themselves as the opposite sex than they actually are?
That shouldn't be permitted in society, I don't think.
Okay. So
because
you don't
what happens is it leads to the downfall of a society. It leads to the downfall of society, which is the very thing that provides all the benefits to anyone in the society. So we shouldn't allow self-destructive or societal destructing behavior within the society. Does that make sense? Is that a reasonable argument?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're not willing to compromise on that. Should divorce be permissible?
No. Does somebody have an answer to that question? Like, don't you think it would
Yeah,
be
okay.
wrong to allow in society those behaviors to destroy a society on which we all benefit from?
Well,
That's a
I'm
question.
trying
You
to.
guys want to
I'm.
well,
answer?
hang on, DT. Hang on, DT. Keep hold of your question. Keep hold of your question. Prior to the 1960s, there were people who were transvestites, as they were known then. They would go out. There was very, very, very few of them. They would suffer the stigma of going out in public occasionally, the occasional one. I have no issue whatsoever with any person wearing what they want, presenting how they wish. My problem, and this is where the compromise is, I would allow people to do whatever they like in their own life. As long as it's not illegal, they can do whatever they like. But when it comes to children, nobody has the right to mutilate children. They go through the normal processes of growing up, which includes puberty. And then once they're 18
How
or
about
whatever the age of
children be
adulthood, hang on,
subject to-
whatever the age of adulthood is, they can then choose whatever they like for their life. But if you are born a male sex, that's your sex, because that is binary. So there's a compromise. I accept fully that you can do what you like. You can present as you like. But you're not going, if you're a man, a male, should I say, you're not going into a women's toilets. You're not going into a women's changing rooms. You're not potentially harming other female athletes, either through assault in one of those bathrooms or by preventing them from having the ability to excel at what it is they're trying to excel at, which is exactly why their sports were developed in the first place, women's sports. So there is a compromise.
No, unless and until you're able to come to the place where you're going to make a moral determination to say, we are not going to allow that behavior in society. Until you come to that point, you will never fix anything in society.
I disagree. My morals are totally different to your morals. They're all subjective.
No, you're just a strict libertine. All you suggested was strict libertarianism. That's all you suggested. And that has no answers for the societal ills that we face and that we're talking about.
Society is changing.
What answer does that give anybody? That's not an answer. Society is changing, and if we don't have we can't, put controls on it. We can't institute things in society that bring change. I mean, what do you think caused the destruction so fast of this damn society? It wasn't because people weren't tweaking with shit and ideas. It wasn't because colleges weren't full of these idiots pumping this crap into our kids now for 40 years, and of course that has an effect. But in other words, we got to reverse that shit if you want to get back to a better place. That's my
I don't want to get back to something. I want to go forward to something.
You don't want to get back to a society that's peaceful and respectful of common values? Like that's completely missing today? You don't want to get back to that?
American society's never been peaceful.
Yeah, it has.
No, it hasn't.
It's been peaceful most of my life.
There's only very few years that the USA has not been at war.
There's never been a time in my life where there's been war on this continent.
Maybe not
I
on
don't
your
believe.
continent. That's because your country undertakes
Got the biggest
wars
military
elsewhere.
going.
I mean, this is the point. You've got to look at it from other sides. You've got to have some empathy for some other ways. You've got to look at your own selves. I look at my own self and
Maybe
my
other
own
countries in the
society.
world have to look at America and follow its example, at least its ideals.
Yeah, that's working out pretty well.
Okay, invade America then. Yeah, why not? Let's send the Russians into Alaska alongside
There's
the
a
Chinese.
reason. There's a reason. It has to do with moral upstandedness. That's the only reason America grew as a nation, was because of its moral clarity. Now, we can't be responsible for these
Really?
Why did
idiots.
China?
We can't be responsible for every fucking government that got in charge and decided to do all kinds of fucking shit all over the world. That's clandestine and self-serving and all that shit. That's like Ukraine, all the shit that's happening today, right? That's not a result of anyone following the American ideal that this nation was founded on.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, I'm not.
You're
If
funny,
you
Ironic,
don't
yeah.
understand the difference, you're just ignorant.
Wait,
Stuart,
you said that America thrived because of its morality.
I said the moral high ground that America was built on is why it became such a force in the world, because of its ideas about freedom, liberty, justice, that kind of shit.
Why did China become a force in the world?
By stealing.
They're my enemy, so they did something bad. They did something bad.
And how much
Rob?
Can I say something?
A lot of it had a lot to do with nefarious actors in American government.
Did we run some people off their land?
And globally.
Wait. Can I speak to that right there? You're talking about Americans doing.
You don't speak.
Go on, DT.
You're talking about Americans doing this and that, and Americans being all that. How much clandestine shit do you think America is culpable for between what's going on between Ukraine and Russia right now, and several other little governments, little puppet governments that the U.S. government has gone around and set up time and time again in these countries, thinking we're doing the right thing. And what it boils down to is we get a bunch of fucking oil or revenues or whatever from them.
About it. Whoever, people who do the shit, they're the ones responsible. Don't you understand that?
I think America, we do, as a constitutional republic, I think it's the best government that you can have. But the problem, I think, is a lack of accountability. We're not making officials accountable according to those morality rules.
Can Irenic, you didn't. Irenic, you didn't even. I'm sorry, Brojo. Irenic, you didn't even answer what I asked you. You said nothing. How much U.S. involvement do you think there is in the Ukraine and Russia?
I answered you. Look, I'm distinguishing between America and I mean by the people, the population that makes up America, and the government, any particular government that includes certain individuals, doing shit nobody in America knows about, because that's the nature of these fuckers, that the way they do business over there, and their politics and their global machinations and all this stuff for making themselves rich or whatever fucking ideas they have about global dominance or whatever the fuck. Okay, now that I'm saying that's not the responsibility of America. Okay, I mean, I credit any
Ironic. It is. I've just muted you. It's absolutely the responsibility of America, because your government is your representative with the rest of the world. Your government is America for the rest of the world. All these NGOs, all these color revolutions, all of these things that America does to the rest of the world, that's America has done it. It doesn't matter whether it's Donald Trump, it doesn't matter whether it's Joe Biden, it doesn't matter whether it's Barack Obama or W. It doesn't bloody matter. Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan. Who cares? It doesn't matter to anybody else. That is America that did it.
An American. That's my point.
Okay, I don't think this is going any further in this particular video.
But the solution is you got to get back to.
So I'm going to end the stream, and we can go and join Brojo or somebody else and carry on whatever conversations. But this is spiraling down a non-compromise and a very ideological basis. So I'm going to end it here. Thanks very much for joining, guys.
Thank you, Heretic.
Rojo,
yeah, thank you. I'll start a stream if anybody wants to watch the Dallas Bills game now.
Okay. Ironic, have you got a last comment?
No, I just no. This is it's an important discussion to have, though.
It's an extremely important one, but I'm trying to get away from ideology, and I'm trying to move towards understanding each other's position. It would be really good if you watched the beginning, looking at compromise, to find out how do we change things so that everybody gets something that means nobody's discriminated against. Nobody. So please, anybody that's watching that didn't see the beginning, please go back to the beginning and listen to my argumentation as to what it is I'm trying to get to. I may not have argued it absolutely brilliantly, and it may have come across that it's anti-female in some way or whatever. It's not. It is an acceptance that we are coming from different perspectives, different definitions, different understandings, and that actually, counter to what Irenic said earlier, the people who are in charge think everything is going absolutely brilliantly at the moment, and they refuse to accept that men are suffering. And that, to me, is a problem in itself. I'm going to leave it on that note because I'm going to go into some more of that in my next video when I get round to doing it. Cheers, everybody.
All right.
Can't wait.
Perhaps, Rennick, you go listen to the beginning of that and maybe make a video response like the good old days.
Like the good old days. Ta-ra, everyone.
Got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with, now they looking nervously. And I don't really care what you think of me, respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
I shot my wife in the stomach with 38.
Why did you do this?
She enticed me and she ridiculed me throughout my lifetime. I'll see if she's alive. You alive? Yeah. I think she's dead.
Sensational.